Hello, this is Linda of Christ is King Forever. I want to talk about Dr. Peterson and the 20 different atheists that he had confronting him and some of the highlights and points. I won't be talking about each person, but I do see something threaded together with each of them. And you could kind of see there's um, something underneath their questions and what they were kind of fighting to hide, fighting to work around to not walk directly into. And that's what I'm going to be talking about here. Not so much exactly what maybe should have been said. I think Peterson did a great job. I do think that maybe somebody who was a professing Christian might have been a better thing, simply because I don't think it's fair to him. It kind of left him without the right tools in order to approach some of the things they were asking. Left him open and vulnerable to one guy who just said, "Hey, the title on this is wrong because you don't claim you're a Christian." Um, if he's practicing Christianity, now this is a Christian conversation, it's probably not something that matters because we don't know him personally. But if Dr. Peterson is practicing Christianity and he's acting Christian, which is the point that I thought was a really good one he made, he probably should just profess that he's a Christian. It would not only is his actions revealing that he has a preference for it and not any other religion, but his thoughts, his intellect seems to be bending in that way. Maybe he's just on a journey, but you shouldn't put your light under a bushel, and you should be professing before everybody the truth of what you believe. And that's a Christian thing. Like, that's something we're always pushing and challenging each other to do. Like on social media. On social media, do people know you're a Christian? And where you work, do they know you're a Christian? Like, people everywhere should know who you are and why you act the way you do. Uh, for good or for bad. But this is my quick analysis of each of these guys. The first three will probably be put together in one. My first challenge is, if you're looking for the truth of the Holy Spirit of the Bible and of Jesus Christ and the God of Israel, ask for the Holy Spirit. No other religion asks you to do this, but I am. I'm asking you. I'm saying, if you want to know the truth, say to God, I'm seeking, I'm knocking. Jesus, when I'm reading this Bible, enlighten me and speak to me and let me know that you love me and what you're trying to say. No other religion will ask that of you, and no other religion offers that, which is the Spirit of God. No other religion does that. The first question that was asked is, how do we know what the correct interpretation is? If you have the Holy Spirit, which is the Spirit of God offered only through Christianity, the interpretation will come because the Bible confirms itself. Plus, the forefathers will confirm it. You can go back to the founders of the churches. They will confirm what the correct interpretation is. That's why it's really important to ask priests and people who are in higher order, not just random people, especially professors, because they tend to be biased. The next question that was asked is, how do I know and how can I distinguish the difference between you and the deity over there in Hawaii and everybody else? All of them look the same to me. So how am I to know the difference? You can feel the difference when you ask for the Holy Spirit. I know this sounds repetitive, but that's why I said the first three guys kind of sound the same to me. But if you ask for the Holy Spirit, you 100% will get the things those other deities cannot give you, which is a customized sanctification, information, and download or upload, whichever, from God. Also, when he says, that guy over there who used to study as a priest, who's no longer studying it anymore, he studied in his own way, I studied in my own way. That's the problem, is you studied in your own way. Because you allowed your own desires and your own thoughts and ideas to guide you, you're already biased. So what the Holy Spirit is, it's a rod of correction. It actually gets you in line and checks you as you're doing stuff, as you're thinking things. The Holy Spirit will correct you and say, no, 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 that's not what God's going for. Check this. As you get more access to the Bible and you know more of the Bible, the easier it is for the Holy Spirit to correct you and use the Bible for sanctification purposes and for knowledge purpose. So it's definitely a different experience than studying any other type of theology when you study the Bible, accepting the Holy Spirit as a guide. So this person thinks that as humans, we can come to a consensus of morality and come to an agreement, which is not a thing. There has to be a plumb line that's active, living, breathing, that actually holds you accountable. The Holy Spirit has been seen for the last 2,000 years. It's 100% measurable. You can see it throughout history. Hospitals, orphanages, homeless shelters, food shelves, medicine, even science itself. The first institution and academy of science was a Christian based academy. So the best things that have been invented and inspired, you have people like Sir Isaac Newton. He said the thumbprint alone would convince him of God's existence. There has to be a plumb line because relativism can kill. Relativism is not innocent, and people have died underneath things just being relative and gray, and nobody having a reason to stand up for anything. It gives room for apathy. Dr. Peterson got it right when he said, "What is it within you that determines that what you're saying to me is true?" He got it right on. My answer would be the Holy Spirit, the Bible, and early church fathers. That's how I know uh, that what I'm saying is the truth, because it's been tested time and time again for the last 2,000 years. And you could see throughout Christian history where it's been and what it's done that there's evidence that Christianity is true and healthy and correct. So I don't really understand what this question is about. Maybe he has his pulse on something that he knows about the kids today and what they're thinking. Maybe this was turned into him as an option to ask or to consider. Um, it's like finding purpose and morality in mathematics. I mean, you can use the idea of making a formula as maybe an analogy for explaining something that's moral or having purpose. Science is an order of operations. It's simply taking things and observing them. I don't know how you could even consider morality and purpose cannot be found in science. This is very strange. I do think that science has given a purpose and has shown us something that might bring us to a moral consideration, just like the AP and Dr. Wood conversation about how there's such a sequence of coding inside of DNA and inside of most things that are found in nature that even mathematicians and scientists are coming to the conclusion that there's intelligent design. That's a smart thing to think, that things weren't just poof coming out of nowhere. So I guess I don't really understand the core of this. That's why a lot of the people who spoke to him said things that it's not my wheelhouse. So his argument here is that chimpanzees show a level of understanding of fairness. The problem is chimpanzees also play with their feces, and they also practice, incest. A lot of the animal kingdom does that. This next question is about slavery. The slavery that's found in the Bible is not the slavery that we think of today. Basically, if you owed somebody something, you would go and be willingly working for that person on their farm. You didn't have anything yourself. Sometimes that person would take you in and grant you certain things, parts of property, if you were a hard worker. And God basically came in and said, "Listen, I know that person owed you something, and they willingly came into your home to work for you, but you can't keep them there for 10 years, 20 years. By the seventh year, if they choose to leave, they can leave. If they wish to stay because you get treated so well, which back in the day they actually did, this is how you know it's not the same type of slavery. They'll have to put a hole in your ear, is the name for this. And it's a whole process basically saying, I choose to make you my master forever. And this is Jewish people enslaved to other Jewish people. And the word slavery doesn't work, it's more like indentured servant. And so there's a little bit of it's almost like people didn't Google stuff, but at the same time, I understand you have to kind of knee deep into liking theology to understand the sides of the Bible, because the God of Israel, the same one that freed the Israelites out of slavery and bondage of Pharaoh, is not pro slavery. As a matter of fact, it's what inspired the Civil War that ended slavery here in this country and also in the UK. You won't find this type of liberty today in other countries that don't have Christianity. There's still a huge amount of slavery occurring in the Middle East. So this youngster says, if God is so consistent, then why didn't he tell them to stop slavery altogether? But now that we have new information, we could also see God showing us how to taper. So it's a perspective and the angle that the Republicans are taking with things that our society has a hard heart about. Slavery has been a hard heart issue and still exists till this day. There are billions of people in slavery, especially at the border, children and women. Well, anyway, we have a hard heart about abortion. So what God is saying here is you need to taper it and pull it in. So do a heartbeat bill. Tell people who have a hard heart and don't know that it's murder, because you can tell people not to murder all day, but if you have people like this young man who have justified it in their own head because they don't know it, but they think themselves gods, they have fought a God who says stop enslaving that person that you're supposed to free after 7 years, even though they are somebody who chose to be under you as a slave. You're not going to release them. You can't even release yourself from this reality that God's trying to free you from. Who are you fooling? So, him understanding humans knew he had to slowly but surely pare it back. And with time and changes being made slowly, people's hearts and realities and minds would be changed, which is what he does during our sanctification. A really great movie to watch is called The King and I. It has Jodie Foster. It has this little underlying story of slavery. It's a really good example of how something is so embedded in society that she sees because she's from the UK and that stuff is over. She's going to a different part of the world that slavery exists, and she's confronting that. And the king basically confronts her and says, this doesn't happen overnight. This has to happen with time. And of course, God had the wisdom to already know that. This video is already 10 minutes long. I'm going to go ahead and continue this in a different video. May God be with you.